your turn to...
Oh, is it for me?
Consider yourself fired.
Why are you winking at me?
Consider yourself fired.
Hello, and welcome to the JT and Drew Show. I'm JT.
And I'm Drew.
And we're two nobodies talking about nothing.
Consider yourself fired. Hey, JT.
Hey, what's up, man?
Just want to welcome you back to the show.
Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Yeah. No,
thanks for letting me walk in, and thanks for unlocking the door.
Yeah, well, I need someone to clean the place up when I'm done, so...
We have Jesse for that.
Oh, I forget about him. He stays in that corner.
Yeah. That's where you put him.
Yeah, but hey, I wanted to let you know that we do have a special guest tonight.
Yeah.
And this isn't just any special guest. This is a small-town girl living in a great big world.
Really?
Yes.
Let's welcome her to the show.
Yep, let's welcome Anna on the show.
Hi, guys.
Anna, welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks for also thanks for agreeing to do this. We'll make the payments afterwards.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see what that's going to be.
Usually with JT, it's just like peanuts or something, but we'll see.
Yeah. Go to a ballpark and get your peanuts.
Yeah. Or payday. Candy bar.
I'm not going to turn either one of those down. So
that's what I'm talking about.
All right. Well, we would like to kind of get to know you a little bit, kind of introduce you to the audience, just to get to know a little bit about you. Who is Anna?
Okay.
Very important question.
If you want to start maybe just a little bit of your background, who you are, maybe where you're from, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, you kind of mentioned it before. Small town kid. I am from a small town in Kansas, type of place that has, one stoplight. And we got that when I was a senior in high school. Wow. A million
That's
years
what I'm
ago
talking
for you
about.
guys. And I'm from a big family. I have 7 siblings, and, I got to grow up kind of in a beautiful location, somewhere I really enjoy going back to, and I'm very thankful to call home. And then the great big world was calling for me, and so I wanted to go explore it. And through that, after school I went to Kansas State for speech pathology, and then joined the Air Force through ROTC and was picked up for pilot training, and it was just one adventure after the next.
Wow.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a lot to unpack, and I've got a quick question. Getting that light signal or stoplight, did you have a hard time driving in the rest of the states when you were getting around and about after you graduated?
It was something they definitely covered in training. They were like, guys, there's this new invention. It's hot. You're going to love it. Other people have had it, but this is a first for us. Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Cool. So you said you went to college at Kansas State for speech pathology?
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that.
So growing up, I was fortunate to be a model student for my younger brother. He is wonderful and is communicative and very expressive. But when he was younger, he was nonverbal. He was born with Down syndrome. And so he was in speech classes all of my childhood. And I was fortunate enough to be a part of that and communicate with him and really see how it worked firsthand as a kid. And so when I grew up, I think I knew by the time I was, 5 or 6, like that's what I wanted to do. So I went to school for it, and I really enjoyed college from that aspect. of it was something I wanted to study. And I was very grateful because I had a lot of friends that were getting degrees so that they could pursue, becoming a pilot or, just trying to find a job that would financially set them up for success, whether it was something they were passionate about or not. And for me, it was kind of a perfect blend of I was very passionate about it and I really believed in it. So speech pathology was a very good fit for me.
Well, that's
yeah,
good.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Was the goal always to go to Kansas State?
Actually, so I'm from Lawrence, Kansas. And my parents are about 20 minutes away, and I grew up going to the speech clinic there just through my little brother. So I
Cool.
had, I knew most of the professors there at the time, and it wasn't necessarily the plan to go to Kansas State, but the older I got, I realized how close KU was to my home and to my parents. And I love my mom and dad, but I needed a little bit more space. So that's why I chose K-State.
Gotcha.
And when I went and visited to see their program, it fit me very, very well.
Well, neat.
Well,
So
that's great.
you wanted to do the speech pathology route. And you mentioned ROTC. Was that something that, hey, I want to do ROTC regardless and pick a career that route? Or was it you were going to Kansas, doing your speech pathology stuff, and this is something that popped up and interested you? Or how did that come about?
So ROTC for me was definitely something I knew about from my older brother. He is in the Army, and when he went through, it paid for his school. And when I went through ROTC, it was during sequestration. So it was kind of just an additional class for me because it didn't end up actually paying for my school because there wasn't funding at the time that I went through. But I had the desire to serve at that point in time, and my brother called me and was like, don't join the Army, join the Air Force. Like, this is something that I think that you should do. And so I took his advice and did Air Force ROTC. It would have been really nice for the school portion to have been taken care of as well, but I already had it kind of in my heart to this is something I wanted to do. And I ended up getting my degree in what I originally intended to go to school for. And then, my junior year, I applied for all of the rated positions, and I was picked up for the pilot slot. And they give you, I think, a week or 2 weeks to accept or decline. And I went home and talked to my parents about it and said, I was given this opportunity. This wasn't necessarily the plan or what I thought I would be doing at all. And my parents were supportive. They asked me how, what the end goal was, what I wanted, after school, if this was going to be just a complete life change for me. And I just decided that it was too great an opportunity to turn down. And I think I basically told myself I would be more upset to have not tried it than to have tried it and changed my mind later on. So I said yes and ended up loving it and kind of going down that path that I did not intend to, but I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think the kids at that time were probably saying, "Turn down for what?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's awesome. Like you said, an opportunity not wasted. And I think a lot of time people find themselves in those situations and they talk themselves out of it. Or, like you had your original goal, hey, I'm going to go be a speech pathologist. I'm kind of interested in this thing. You could have, hey, I'm done with this. I'm going to go to grad school now and, had a totally different life. But the route that you took led you to many different more adventures and different opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So that's really neat.
It really did. And I'm very humbled by it. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. While it was unexpected and, something that, like, I worked really hard to get there, it was not ever something I felt, I deserved, or like this was the
Was
end goal
entitled to you.
end of like exactly what I wanted. It was like an opportunity that I still to this day am grateful that I was given.
Were there a lot of your peers, other classmates from your town that ended up joining, serving, going out, or a lot of them still back home? Or
From high school?
Yeah.
There were a few of us. I'm from a relatively small class. I think I was 84 or 86 graduates. And there was a handful of us that served. I had a buddy that went into the Marines, a few that went into the Army, and actually one of my childhood best friends, she commissioned through OTS and actually is stationed in Omaha and works on the RC-135, which was really cool. Kind of a small world. We grew up a mile apart. So that was, that was somebody that I can now speak the same language as. And I'm grateful that she's kind of in it as well.
So going through all of this, you had mentioned that you get a couple weeks to decide when they presented you with the pilot slot. Is that something like, hey, what airframe you're going to go to? Or is it just, hey, we're going to train you as a pilot, you'll figure out the rest later? Or how does that work?
So it is very much, we're going to train you and then you'll find out later. So when I went through, you go through initial flight training out at Pueblo, Colorado for the Air Force. And you learn basically the basics of, aerodynamics, traffic pattern operations for flying, basic systems knowledge, and then the basics of how to take off, go through an arrival and land. And it was all VFR work at that point. And after IFT, you go through T6s. So everybody that's is going through the same exact process up to this point. And then in T6s, you do aerobatics, you do instrument flight, you do formation, which is wildly fun. I really enjoyed that portion of it. And then after you accomplish your T6 training, towards the end of it, you go through something called track select. And so you can put in for 3 different options. So you can do helicopters, which means you'll go to an Army base from that point on and train through their helicopter program. You can go through T-38s, which is a fighter track. If you are really geared and want to become a fighter pilot, it's pretty competitive, and a lot of people do, want that because it's like the epitome of military flying. And then the T1, which is the aircraft that I was selected for, and that's what I wanted because I wanted to fly C-130s after I had basically made the commitment in my mind to enter into pilot training, that I wanted to fly C-130s. And then, working really hard and, the classmates that I had and all the instructors, I was fortunate enough to do that. But when you enter in, you go through a track select to figure out what you're going to fly. And it's at that point, your kind of path is laid out in front of you of okay, here are your options get a little bit more narrow, but you have, if you go T1s the way I did, I was going to fly heavy aircraft, whether that be C-130s, C-17s, any tanker, or C-5. And then fighter pilots or T-38s typically go fighter track or bomber track from there. And then helicopters go off and fly helicopters around the world.
Yeah, that's very much different than JT's in my experience, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, that's really neat how they kind of like you said, you kind of get options and then it narrows down, but it's like the roadmap is laid out for you. That's really neat how they develop you that way.
It's a very interesting process. And, you, towards the end of your time in pilot training, you put in your preferences. They give you, they call it a dream sheet, the way, people would get for like base assignments, but it's, what airframe you'd like to fly. And then it tells you kind of where they're located at. And you rack and stack them, you rank them to, what you are hopeful for. And then they base it on your class rank. And, some people have extenuating circumstances that push them into one place or the other. And so it's definitely a grind to try to set yourself up for success to get what you are hopeful for.
But it does sound like if you're a hard charger, go-getter, you're willing to put the work in, you have a chance.
You definitely do. You have a chance, but the Air Force is all, luck and timing and needs of the Air Force. So even the things that you might want might not even be an option for you to choose. I was fortunate enough to have 2 C-130s on mine, and that was my number 1 and number 2, and I was just fortunate.
You came in to ROTC and to the flight training and all this stuff, zero experience how to fly. Didn't have your private pilot license or anything.
None. I was the poster child for never doing it.
And now you're an instructor pilot.
Yes, I am.
How does that feel?
I'm grateful. It was a lot of work, a lot of dedicated time, and my instructors, my fellow co-pilots, my aircraft commanders I flew with, like every flight was, a learning experience. And then, internalizing the lessons learned that like I haven't gone through myself, but all of the stories, all of the time, around people debriefing and talking about flying. And I know, at least from, a pilot's perspective, how our family members can just tune us out because it's all we talk about. And it's a constant conversation that sometimes can be a little overwhelming, even to pilots.
Well, one thing that I like from being up in the office, and I have no aviation background, but one thing I really like seeing is the community amongst the pilots and how not everyone, but a lot of y'all are helping each other and helping each other grow. And hey, let me share this with you, or you share this with me, or what can I do better? And that kind of iron sharpening iron concept. I think that's really neat.
Mm-hmm. It's pretty
you
incredible.
Didn't get a lot of that. Yeah, you didn't get a lot of that in our career field.
No, it was dog eat dog. Who do I need to step on so that I can push myself
get to
higher?
the top? Yeah. But
one last question I have for you. Going through all of this experiences, college, ROTC, pilot training, making your way, climbing up the ladder to become an instructor pilot and everything, as a female officer and pilot in the Air Force, have you noticed or gone through or felt or I don't know what the right term is, but were there certain obstacles, or do you feel like, man, I would have got more respect if, or I missed these opportunities because I'm a female, or because I'm being overlooked because of XYZ? Did you personally feel any of that, or have you seen any of that?
I have been fortunate in training to have not felt that way. I've had different kind of setbacks and experiences that have shaped me. But for my abilities in flying and for the opportunities that I've gotten to pursue, that I've been able to pursue, I don't think that I necessarily had that. I think the culture at Vance and in Little Rock and, all the assignments I've been given work-wise when it comes to flying ability I have not felt that per se. I have felt that I've always been treated as, I'm a student first and foremost in that regard. And being a student that is dedicated to getting better, I think, is what was important to my instructors. And it wasn't necessarily female focused for my flying ability, because it's very much a mental gymnastic experience that you're going through, trying to develop your skills, trying to push yourself to be better. And I don't think that my gender played a role in that. I think my gender has had impacts on other portions of my Air Force career, and I've had experiences that have not always been positive, but flying has been flying. And honestly, even to this day, it is my favorite part. It is something I always look forward to and find a lot of joy in doing.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome that you haven't had that those kind of setbacks or experiences when it comes to flying.
Mm-hmm. And I'm very grateful for that, because I know that's not the case for everyone, male or female.
Sure.
But from my experience alone, that has not impacted it.
I had talked to a female fighter pilot, and her experience was a little different. And I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know she had felt more lack of respect, maybe her peers not respecting her as much because she was a female fighter pilot. But I mean, like you mentioned, if you're capable, if you can do the job, if you're learning and you're willing and you're pushing and you're doing the same thing that the other person is doing, inside the plane, I don't know outside of the plane, how all that stuff factors, but I know she particularly had made comments here and there about being the only female in like debriefs, and just made it sound like there was an air of, I don't know if awkwardness is the right word, or just kind of, I don't belong here was the feeling.
I think a lot of the times inclusion is a thing, and feeling like you belong when you are the only female in the room. I have been in that spot several times. And it can be challenging, because sometimes you don't realize how much community you miss out on until you kind of get a girl group, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this feels like I belong in a different way. And I can definitely empathize with that female, how that would feel, but not necessarily through training. I had a female in my class, and then when I went through C-130 school, I was one of two people in it, and the other person was also female. And then I have been very fortunate to have female encouragement along the way, but I do have friends that have experienced that, and I know that is a very real thing, and a very real experience. But again, and it's just something that, fortunately, I haven't felt that isolation and that separation. And for the people that do feel that way about, expectations for females, if they feel that way, that's a bias that they have, that is, just like an education piece over time. Like, they're going to realize that those women are very capable and that they're able to rise to the challenge. And then that's something that individual has to, reevaluate within themselves and be like, oh, I was wrong, or why did I have that stereotype, and what can I do to change for the better? Because, I mean, we deserve to be here, and like, it takes a lot of work. So a lot of us are really proud of that accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you should be.
You should be.
So I've been here the whole time. I'm enjoying the conversation that you two are having. But I'm gonna ask one thing. This might be the only question I get an opportunity to ask. But Anna, what is your future plan? You talk about how you love the C-130 community and everything like that. What are the plans? Are you planning on sticking around for the next 10 or 20 years, maybe retiring out of the military? What's the plan? Because if this is something that you are wanting to do, have you thought that far ahead? Is that something that kind of rattles around in the brain a little bit?
It definitely rattles around. If my commander listens to this and it's, ends up being part of my game plan, that would be a funny deliverance of like, hey, here's, my hopes and dreams out there.
We'll put in a good word for you.
I have always gone into it with the mindset of I want to do the best that I can, and I want to make the environment that I'm in better than what I found it. The phrase, bloom where you're planted is something I definitely want to do, and I'm not so focused on what the end goal is. I try to keep it in perspective of my next assignment, and then kind of almost a little bit like assignment by assignment with the realistic expectation of I always want to feel like I'm contributing and that my time is being valued and that I'm doing something that is making the Air Force better, making in a better environment, making it a place people want to come and work and be a part of. And if I can do that, I think that, reaffirms, my commitment to the Air Force, my desire to get people the education they need, the resources they need, the path that, isn't always the easiest to support them along the way. I don't necessarily have like, this is exactly what I'm going to do and this is where I want to end up and have that all figured out. But I definitely want it to be a good experience, and I want it to be something that is valued and that is bringing value to other people. I think that's a very political answer, like a politically correct answer, in the sense of that sounds really nice, but sometimes, that's how I feel, but sometimes it is harder to see the bigger picture, especially when, you're in a grind and you're worn out, or you haven't necessarily seen like the fruits of your labor for a long time. So there are definitely times where I am discouraged and I, feel more lost than not. But all in all, it's been positive. And when I take a step back and, recharge myself in different ways, like I do see myself staying for an extended period of time as long as they'll have me.
And well, also, and as long as you're still enjoying it, because I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, I do too. I agree.
Oh yeah.
All right, I'm popping away from the mic. Go ahead.
Okay, good. All right, now let's get deep and personal with Anna.
Ooh.
So behind me is door number 1. No, I'm just kidding. So we've been talking about your military career, your college career, and all this stuff, but on a little bit more personal note, have you noticed that any of this has impacted your social life? Maybe, hey, when you go out and you meet new people, whether it's through the dating scene or just new friends or what have you, hey, being a female, well, that's a plus, obviously. But, hey, I'm in the military, or I'm a pilot in the military. Have you had any weird interactions or people that have been turned off by that notion?
Mm-hmm. I think I'm a more reserved person. I typically...
So you don't go to the bar?
It's not. It's not. My mom will probably listen to this and she'll be like, "What are you doing?" Just kidding. No, I go out. I definitely meet people. And it's the standard. Where are you from? What do you do? How do you spend your time? What are your hobbies? And I try to feel the person out a little bit before I tell them what I do, because, you know, you don't know how it's going to be received. And in my experience, you know, if it's something that is intimidating, if this is, you know, someone I'm interested in, if they're
Sure.
intimidated by it, it doesn't really pan out because I can't change it about myself. And
Nor should you.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just something that is. And if they're excited about it or interested or intrigued, like, I always answer questions. But I have found that it is really person dependent, and it's how, you know, they respond to it is, you know, I just accept, you know, they probably haven't met a female pilot, or they don't know about the military. It's not even like the pilot part of it, you know, a woman in the military. And, you know, that just, it doesn't necessarily dissuade me, but it's definitely something that comes up, and it is always different.
Yeah.
Overall, I think it's positive. I think people just are intrigued by it for the most part. Or, you know, they're just like, oh, I didn't know that. And then they become like a little unsure, and that's fine. I understand that, like, that's okay with me. And then I just take it person by person, but I am very proud of what I do, and there's nothing to change for someone else's comfort. It's just who I am and what I chose to do with my life. And if they like it, cool. And if they don't, that's cool too. We probably won't date.
Great. That's great. It sounds like what you said in a nutshell, excuse me, is that most of your clothes are made out of girlfriend material.
How so?
I tried to not have him say that. Come on, man.
I learn new words all the time. I have to put them in sentences to practice, okay? No, but seriously, I think that's a great stance to take. Too often, you know, people are trying to dress to impress, so to speak, and kind of put that best foot forward, put on a show, and, you know, I don't want to not necessarily upset the other person, but I don't want to do something that they're not going to like, in a sense, like you mentioned. If they're a little standoffish or a little shy about the career choices or your background or where you're headed, okay, then maybe it's not a good fit. Instead of, well, they're a little unsure about this, but, you know, I can change. Or I can, like you've mentioned, do what I need to do to fit your mold. So that's really good. That's good on you for, you know, staying firm on that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I can't change it, and honestly, I don't want to, but I think I want to be with a person that is willing to just accept who I am and what I've chosen to do, and values it, because I find it very valuable, and I would hope that that person does too.
Well,
Of
heck
course.
yeah. I mean, you're flying a big tin can that pushes people out the back of it and equipment. That's pretty
Who
valuable.
wouldn't love that?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't jump out. I'd go down with the plane. But, you know, it's not for everyone.
Yeah. I'd jump out without a parachute. Hey.
That would make me very sad.
It just depends on how high up you are.
But, yeah,
That
well,
didn't
we
get dark at all.
definitely appreciate you sharing with us. We have, if you didn't hear already, Anna on the program. And she is JT and Drew's most eligible bachelorette. Affiliate link below.
Oh gosh.
And we will, you know, text the show, email the show, and we'll send you her info.
No, I sure won't.
No, I'm just kidding.
Thanks, JT.
I got you back, bud.
You've got one loyal friend there.
Anna's the real McCoy, man. You know? She's
Yeah.
humble. She's super sweet at work. You know, you can't get a better person than Anna. So when the opportunity came up to, hey, let's get one of the female pilots up here and do the show, Anna was the first one on the list. Hey, hopefully she'll not think that you're crazy enough and actually do the show.
Yeah, primarily I initially thought she's probably the one that would judge me the least.
Well, I'm really grateful that you offered it to be and thought of me.
Yeah, and we definitely appreciate you sharing. There's lots of folks out there that they don't know what they don't know, and we live in a age of technology, and you can go online and find out all kinds of stuff about ROTC or about pilot training or this or that, but it's hard when you have questions that aren't answered there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And to be able to hear from somebody who's gone through that and walked those steps, it can be very valuable.
It can be very valuable. And also, along with the technology and whatnot, there's a lot of bad information out there. So,
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, if someone listens to this and needs, more advice or more insight, obviously, if they reach out to you, you can put them in contact with me. I'd be more than happy to. That's definitely part of it.
Yeah. If you could give somebody out there who's listening, male, female, any piece of advice, hey, I listened, I was really intrigued by what she said, how she kind of went from, high school, college, ROTC, pilot. What advice would you give them? Somebody that might just have an inkling of an interest, how to be successful or make those choices.
So I found in this journey that I had to have a support network, whether that was my friends encouraging me along the way, my classmates helping me study, my parents being there when, I thought I wasn't doing well and I didn't see myself, I wasn't viewing myself the way, they were trying to encourage me to be. I was like, oh, I'm failing at this. I'm not, I'm not doing as well as I thought I would be doing. And they'd be like, take it day by day, keep trying. And then, my instructors that, and I went to them and I said, I don't understand this. Can you explain this to me again? Can we sit down and go over this general knowledge or this system or how this process works, because I'm building this picture in my brain on how to get through this program or how to achieve, the goal I'm trying to reach, that I couldn't do it in isolation. And, putting all of that weight on yourself can be really hard. And my advice would be to get support, to ask for that help, to realize like you don't know everything and that's okay. It's part of the process, and doing it step by step and day by day, because like you're going to fail some days, and some days you're going to feel like quitting, and some days you're going to feel, on top of the world and like you couldn't imagine doing something different. But I would not have been able to do it without a support network. And so having that is really important. And if you don't have that, that's not to say you can't do it, but hopefully, your classmates and the community, like the pilot training community, they want you to be there. They want to help you. They want to train you. They want to make sure, you are safe, you have sound judgment, and you're able to accomplish the missions that will be set in front of you. So don't feel like if you're like, oh, I don't have the best of friends, or my family isn't really into this, they don't really understand what I'm going through. There will be people along the way. And so making those connections, I think, sustained me. And so that's what I would say to people, to not think you have to do it alone, that there will be people along the way that will help you get to where you're trying to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's very important, having that
support system.
Support system, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said, even if you don't have family or don't have supportive family, you learn, at least what I've picked up on again at the office and through some of my experiences from being active, was you make family, with those around you.
You really do. And it's really really unique and really wonderful.
I'm going to bring up one thing that you said during all of this, was that you actually went to your instructors and asked for help with certain things. That takes a lot of courage to willingly put out there, I'm not understanding this, which is then telling people I'm not smart, which is really hard for a lot of people. So you've got to have that courage in order to be able to succeed. And again, just as Anna said, the support system, the people that are in your class, your instructors, other people around you. For the enlisted guys, your MTLs going through tech school. You know, all those people are still there. They're there. They want you to succeed, because the paperwork on trying to get you out is worse than the paperwork pushing you forward.
Well, not to mention, you're essentially taking someone else's spot. You know, the machine has to keep running.
Exactly.
So they want to make sure you're set up for success. I don't think anybody wants to deliberately push you through just to have you fail. And like you said, the paperwork would be astronomical at that point.
Yeah,
I
pretty much.
definitely subscribe to the mindset of, if I don't know it and I'm not confident in it, that's what I need to focus on. And so it does take courage, or, you know, willing to say like, hey, I'm not where I want to be. I'm not as sharp as I need to be in this area. And if you do that and continue to do that, you will end up getting to where you're trying to go, because I mean, it's just a focused effort at that point in time. And you're right, the paperwork, my goodness, ask for the help.
Yeah, you really got to set your pride aside.
You do.
Unfortunately, for me, I'm more of a push all the buttons and click 20 times till it unfreezes, and it never unfreezes. So then I have to restart it, and then I do the same thing, and then I'm in the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the third time I think, well, I'll just push it 19 times, and then I'm there again.
Yeah, where I'm as more of a, how do I solve it myself without, before I go ask somebody. So.
Yeah, I do
And if
oftentimes try to solve it myself first, and then sometimes I need some guidance, and so I try to find someone I trust and do it that way.
Yep.
Sometimes you just have to go on the line. Sometimes, when you go on the line and you go to the Google machine, the answers are out there.
Okay, well, the Google machine doesn't have all the answers.
Where to put the keys to turn the airplane on, and which switch does the AC and all that stuff. I'm sure that's on Google.
Absolutely.
No, it's not. And you're not logging in with your CAC, okay?
It's honestly just a YouTube video. It's basically pilot training.
Oh, man.
Well, Anna, thanks for coming to the show. We really appreciate you.
Yep.
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. I always enjoy catching up with you two.
I appreciate that more than JT.
All right, bud. Well, that'll do it. Thanks for, again, unlocking the door and letting me in today.
Oh, that's right. I did unlock the door for you. Dang it. Lock it on the way out.
As always, we'd like to say thank you for stopping by and listening to the podcast.
Yeah, we realized that you could have been doing anything way more productive, but you chose to waste your time with us.
We look forward to talking about absolutely nothing with you next time.
If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please email us at
jtandrewshow@gmail.com or visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/JTDrewShow.